Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. Here with me, I'm Elsa Izdaryani from morning class semester 5 NIM 3220100046. Today I would like to presentation about the material. The title is Linguistics Environment in Interlanguage Usage 1 to fulfill the segment from English language learning acquisition. So let's get started. Linguistic environment and interlanguage usage are divided into two. The first is social aspects of interlanguage and then the discourse aspects of interlanguage. The first is social aspects of interlanguage. The primary perspective on interlanguage is psycholinguistic, or identifying the internal mechanisms that are responsible for interlanguage development. Three approach to identify social aspects. The first is an interlanguage as a stylist continuum, and the second B is the acculturation model of second language acquisition, and C is social identify and investment in second language learning. The first is interlanguage as stylist continuum, alignatoron, careful style, vernacular style, and according to Howard Gills, convergent style and divergent styles. And the B is the acculturation model of second language acquisition according to John Schumann acculturation model. And next is C, social identify and investment in second language learning, Bonnie Norton Pierce. Next is A, interlanguage as a stylist continuum, alignatron, interlanguage involving stylist continuum, careful style, learners consciously aware of using language forms, vernacular style, learners making spontaneous choices of linguistic forms, especially in free conversation. Example of Japanese learners having trouble learning the sounds Z. And the next is according to Gill's accommodation theory, to explain how a learner's social group influence of second language acquisition, convergence, making speech similar to emphasis, social cohesiveness, and second is divergence, making speech different to emphasis, social distinctiveness. Accommodation theory suggests that social factors mediate through the interaction that learners take part in, influence both how quickly they learn. From B, the acculturation model of second language acquisition, similar perspective of the role of the social factors in second language acquisition can be found in John Schumann's acculturation model. Schumann investigated a 33-year-old Costa Rica named Alberto who was acquiring English in the United States. Alberto used a reduced and simplified form of English throughout. The problem, he continued to use declarative word order rather than inflection in question. He acquired virtually no auxiliary verbs, and he failed to mark regular verbs to past tense or nouns or possession. The main reason for learners failing to acculturate is social distance. A learner's social distance is determined by a number of factors, as present by Schumann. Social factors determine the amount of contact with the second language individual learners experience and thereby how successful they are in learning. And the C is social identify and investment in second language learning. Bonnie Norton Pierce argues that language learners have complex social identify that can only understand in terms of power relations that shape social structures. A learner's social identify is multiple and contradictory. Learning is successful when learners are able to summon up or construct an identify that enables them to impose their right to be heard and thus become the subject of discourse. She said she has studied an adult immigrant learner of English in Canada named Eva. The girl which is working with me pointed at the man and said, "Do you see him?" I said, "Yes." "Why? Don't you know him?" "No, I don't know him." How come you don't know him? Don't you watch TV? That's Bart Simpson. It made me so bad and I didn't answer her nothing. It was the girl and Eva who could determine the grounds on which interaction could proceed. It were them who had the power to bring closure to the conversation. Eva became subject to a discourse which assumed an identity she didn't have. She was also the subject of the discourse had she attempted to continue on which the interaction could proceed. For example, by asserting that she didn't watch the TV program of which Bart Simpson was the star. This requires investment, something learners will only make if they believe their effort will increase the value of their cultural capital. Learners use language to locate themselves in their community and also in second language environment. Successful learners are those who reflect critically on how they engage with native speakers and who are prepared to challenge the accepted social order by constructing and asserting social identities of their own choice. Second is discourse aspect of interlanguage. The study of learners' discourse in second language acquisition has been informed by two rather different goals. The first is on the one hand, there have been attempts to discover how second language learning acquired the rules of discourse that inform native speaker language usage. And the second is, on the other hand, a number of researchers have sought to show how interaction shapes interlanguage development. Acquiring discourse rule. There are rules of regulation in ways in which native speakers hold conversation. In the United States, for example, a compliment usually calls response and failure. To provide one can be considered sociolinguistic errors. And the third is, furthermore, in American English, compliment response are usually quite elaborate, involving some attempt on the part of the speaker to play down the compliment by making some unfavorable compliment. For example, I like your sweater. It's so old. My sister bought it for me in Jakarta some time ago. However, second language learners behave differently. Sometimes they fail to respond to a compliment at all. At other times, they produce their response for intense "thank you." The role of input and interaction in second language acquisition. Input is used to refer to the language that is addressed to second language learners, either by a native speaker or by another second language learner. For interaction is the conversation constructed by the learner and his partner. Therefore, input is the result of the interaction. Two types freudian talk. First is ungrammatically freudian talk, characterized by the deletion of certain grammatical features such as copula be, modal verb, and articles, the use of the base form of the verb in place of the past tense form, and the use of the special constructions such as no plus verb. For example, no forget buying ice cream ya. Talk. Grammatical Freudian talk is delivered at a slower pace. Input is simplified. Grammatical Freudian talk is sometimes regularized. Freudian talk sometimes consists of elaborate language use. For example, the ice cream, you will not forget to buy it on your way home. Get it when you are coming home, right? The role of output in second language acquisition. Output can serve a consciousness-raising function by helping learners to notice gaps in their interlanguage. Output help learners to test hypotheses. They can try out a rule and see whether it leads to successful communicating or whether it elicits negative feedback. And the third is learners sometimes talk about their own output, identifying problems with it and discussing ways in which they can put right. Alright, I think that's all explanation about this material. I think that's all for me. Thank you.